Hello, welcome to TD's PokemonLair. I'm TD, and today I'm unboxing another box of Pokemon Cards I sent to PSA over a year ago. Got them back to this nice box, nicely packaged, so they got here safe and sound. Let me get them out of the box and see what grades we got. Let's go. This card is a 1999 Pokemon game-based Raticate, the number 40 card of the set. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really clean. I don't see any dirt, damage, creases, bends, or anything like that. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, is slightly towards the top, and towards left to right, it's slightly towards the right, but our corners and our edges look really clean. As we turn to the back of the card, you can see our centering issues continue here. Our centering is a bit towards the top and to the left. Our surface, though, looks really clean. I don't see any problems on the graphics. Looking at our corners and our edges, they all look pretty good, except there's a white speck just left of center on the upper edge. And we'll get a grade of mint 9. That's pretty good. I'll take it. We have a 1999 Pokemon game-based Seel, the number 41 card. Looking at the front of this card, the surface graphics look really clean. I don't see any problems on those. Looking at our centering, though, from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the bottom, but left to right, it's a little bit towards the left. And our corners and our edges don't appear to have any damage. Flipping the card over and looking at our centering from left to right, I think it's towards the right, and from top to bottom, it's towards the bottom. Looking at our surface, though, it's really clean. I don't see any problems on the graphics. Looking at our edges and our corners, though, we have damage on almost all the edges and corners. And we'll get a grade of near mint 7. That's not too bad. Let us look at a 1999 Pokemon game-based Abra, the number 43 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it looks really clean. I don't see any dirt, damage, creases, or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think that looks pretty good from left to right. Might be slightly towards the right. And our corners and our edges, though, look really nice and clean. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that the centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think all looks pretty good. Our surface looks really clean. I don't see any damage there. And looking at our corners and our edges, there is some slight damage down the right edge and on the two lower corners. And we'll receive a grade of near mint 8. Wow, I didn't think all that was that bad, but 8s are pretty good, especially on the old cards. Here's a 1999 Pokemon game-based Bulbasaur, the number 44 card. Looking at the front of this card, our centering, I think, looks pretty good from top to bottom, and left to right, it looks pretty good. Our surface is really clean, the graphics are nice. Our corners and our edges, I see no damage. Looking at the back of the card, our surface is really clean. I don't see any problems there. Looking at our centering, though, from left to right, I think it's towards the left, and from top to bottom, I think it's pretty within tolerance. Our corners and our edges are really clean, surprisingly. And that's going to give us a grade of mint 9. I like it. I like it a lot. Here is a 1999 Pokemon game-based Caterpie, the number 45 card. Looking at the front of this card, our centering, let's start there. From top to bottom, I think it's pretty good. From left to right, it's towards the left. Looking at our front surface and graphics, they look really clean. Looking at our corners and our edges look really good, and most of our corners, but there is a bend on the corner of the lower right. As we look to the back of the card, you can look at the lower left corner and see that bend coincides with the front of the card. Since we're on our corners and our edges, you can continue to across the bottom edge and see some damage there. And as you run around the corners and edges, there's some slight damage on most of them. Our surface, though, looks really clean, and our centering from top to bottom looks good. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right. And that's going to give us a grade of excellent 5. Wow, that's better than I thought I'd get with that bend. A favorite, 1999 Pokemon game-based Charmander, the number 46 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that the surface and graphics are really clean. I don't see any dirt damage or anything else, no bends. Looking at our centering from left to right and top to bottom, I think that's all within tolerance. Our edges and our corners look really nice. As we look to the back, you can see that our centering from top to bottom I think is decent and within spec, but from left to right I think it's towards the left. Looking at our surface, it's really clean. I don't see any dirt or damage or bends. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think there's some slight damage on the edge, lower edge near the right corner, and both corners have some slight damage. That'll give us a grade of mint 9. For an old Charmander, that's pretty darn good. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon game-based Diglett, the number 47 card of the set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that Diglett looks great. I don't see any problems on the graphics or the surface of the card. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, is pretty close to spec. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the left. Looking at our corners and our edges, though, they're really nice and clean. As we inspect the back of the card, let's start with our centering. From top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance, but from left to right, I think it's towards the right. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look really good. I don't see much damage on them. I think they're clean. Our surface looks really good. I don't see any problems on the graphics. And we'll get a grade of mint 9. I like it a lot. Here's a 1999 Pokemon game-based Drowzee, the number 49 card from the set. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really clean. I like the graphics and the surface. I don't see any dirt or damage. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think, is within tolerance. Our edges and our corners are very clean. Flipping the card over and looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top, possibly within spec. Looking at our from side to side, though, I think that's within tolerance, definitely. And looking at our corners and edges, they're really clean with no damage. And our surface and the graphic of the Pokeball there look really nice. And we're going to get a grade of Gem Mint 10. For a 22-year-old Drowzee, I got a 10. Yeah. This is a 1999 Pokemon game-based Gastly, the number 50 card. As we look at the front of this card, let's start with the centering from top to bottom and left to right. I think it's within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're pretty clean. Looking at the surface of the card, at a quick glance, it looks really good, but there's actually a slight bend and crease in the center just above Gastly there, and it runs down almost to the Gastly picture. Flipping the card over and looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think it's all within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, our two lower corners have some slight damage, and looking at our surface, we have that crease just above the Pokeball to the top of the card, and that's going to affect our grade. And that's going to give us a grade of excellent 5. That's about what I expected. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon game-based computer search, the number 71 card, a trainer card. Let's look at the surface of the card. You can see it's really clean. I don't see any dirt, damage, or problems. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's good from left to right. It looks a little towards the left to me, and our corners and our edges look really clean. I don't see any damage. As we turn the card over and look at the back, our surface looks really nice. I don't see any problems or dirt. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's good from left to right. I think it's probably within tolerance also, maybe a little to the right. Looking at our corners and our edges, they're really nice and clean. And we'll get a grade of Gem Mint 10. That one sort of surprised me. I figured it'd be a 9. I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and remember, you got to catch them all. Have a great day.